Hello, welcome back to Mysterious Case. Here we gather information and present famous cases that have profoundly impacted the community. As usual, if you'd like to support our channel, please hit like and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Wishing you a pleasant day. Now, let's revisit the case of Blaze Bernstein. The case in this episode took place in Lake Forest, a peaceful city nestled in the heart of Orange County, California, USA, carrying a story of transformation and enduring beauty. Lake Forest was officially established on December 20th, 1991, once known as El Toro, a land marked by history and growth. From its early days, Lake Forest evolved from a small community into a vibrant city with a population of about 85,858 people, according to the 2020 census, becoming an essential part of the colorful tapestry of Orange County. Lake Forest is adorned with two precious gems, sparkling man-made lakes, the inspiration behind the city's name. These lakes, surrounded by tranquil residential areas, are the heart of community life, where residents enjoy relaxing moments at clubs like the Lake Forest Beach and Tennis Club or the Sun and Sail Club. Over the years, this land has expanded, embracing Foothill Ranch and Portola Hills, blending the modernity of commercial centers with the serenity of lush green parks. Near Irvine and Mission Viejo, Lake Forest stands as a testament to the harmony between nature and humanity, a beautiful chapter in the Book of California. It was here on January 3, 2018, that Blaze Bernstein, a promising 19-year-old, suddenly went missing. Blaze was a University of Pennsylvania student who had returned home for the holidays to be with his family. No one could have imagined that what seemed like an ordinary meeting would end in tragedy. The story began when Blaze's parents, Gideon and Jean, noticed he didn't show up for a dental appointment. His phone rang but went straight to voicemail. Overcome with worry, they began searching, checking his bedroom, where his wallet, glasses, and keys still remained, and reaching out to his friends. But there was no trace of where he might be. Blaze grew up in a warm family, with parents who always supported his dreams. He was a creative, friendly individual, open about being Jewish and gay. Before his disappearance, he had been texting his mother regularly, making plans to meet up. His sudden vanishing left his family in distress, and they quickly alerted the police while also investigating on their own through Blaze's laptop. This effort led them to an unfamiliar name, Samuel Woodward, the last person to contact Blaze via Snapchat, and the one who had received Blaze's home address the night before. Samuel Woodward, the name that appeared on Blaze's Snapchat, was unfamiliar to the Bernstein family. On the night of January 2nd, 2018, Blaze had sent his home address to Samuel, but the rest of their conversation had vanished due to the app's self-destruct setting. This raised suspicions for Blaze's parents, and Gideon decided to call Samuel directly to get answers. In the call, recorded by John, Samuel answered with a trembling voice, claiming he had picked Blaze up at 11 p.m., driven to nearby Borrego Park, and then Blaze left to meet another friend before disappearing into the darkness. Samuel added that they had both attended the Orange County School of the Arts, OSA, together, but hadn't been in touch for a long time. However, his panicked and vague responses left Gideon with an uneasy feeling that something was off. The family immediately handed the recording over to the police, but they didn't stop there. They reached out to Blaze's friends to ask about Samuel, and the responses they received were deeply troubling. One friend was shocked that Blaze had even met with Samuel, describing him as crazy and dangerous. Another was more blunt. Samuel could only have met Blaze for one of two reasons, either to secretly hook up with him or to harm him. These words hit Blaze's parents like a bucket of cold water. Samuel Woodward, born in 1998, grew up in a conservative California family. Unlike his brother Clay, Samuel was reserved and shy from a young age, exhibiting odd behaviors. He hated the feeling of a t-shirt touching his neck, was slow to tie his shoelaces, and frequently clashed with classmates. These unusual signs were just the beginning of a dark path no one could have foreseen. From a young age, Samuel Woodward displayed strange signs, such as an obsession with trivial details, from the way he tied his shoelaces to his discomfort with clothing. By third grade, he had developed a habit of swearing, which pushed his peers away. By the age of 10, Samuel's isolation became even more pronounced. He grew fascinated with things like sharks, spiders, cars, airplanes, and especially World War II, not for its history, but for a bizarre admiration of the Nazi Party. Later, Samuel was diagnosed with autism, a detail that partly explained his behavior, though not entirely. In 7th grade, Samuel attended the Orange County School of the Arts, where he met Blaze Bernstein. But with his conservative views and hatred toward minority groups, he couldn't fit into the school's diverse environment. After just 1 year, he was expelled. In the years that followed, Samuel attended Corona Del Mar High School and later California State University Channel Islands. But things didn't improve. Friends described him as quiet, awkward, and uncommunicative, often sitting alone doodling in a notebook, drawings filled with violent and military imagery. No one wanted to be near him, and Samuel gradually turned to the online world to escape his loneliness. It was there, on a meme-sharing site called iFunny, that he encountered others with similarly extreme views. The site, largely unmoderated, became a breeding ground for Samuel's hatred. He joined the Atomwaffen Division, a neo-Nazi group considered an online terrorist organization by many countries. From that point on, Samuel's path grew increasingly dark. The lives of Samuel Woodward and Blaze Bernstein were stark opposites, with no apparent common ground, yet fate brought them together in an unimaginable way. In late 2017, Samuel, then 20 years old, signed up for Tinder, a popular dating app. Surprisingly, despite his outward hatred of homosexuality, he chose to search for both men and women. Meanwhile, Blaze, a young man confident in his third gender identity, was also active on the app. Blaze messaged first, complimenting Samuel with, "You look decent," and astonishingly, Samuel replied, "You're not bad either." From there, they began chatting, though not frequently, as Blaze was studying in Pennsylvania, far from California. Everything changed when Blaze returned home for the holidays at the end of the year. After Christmas and New Year's, the two decided to meet in person. On the night of January 2nd, 2018, Samuel drove to Blaze's house after receiving the address via Snapchat. According to Samuel's later account, he took Blaze to Borrego Park, where they talked and smoked marijuana. Samuel claimed that, unaccustomed to marijuana, he grew drowsy, while Blaze comfortably led the conversation. But the story he told afterward was riddled with contradictions. Samuel alleged that when he woke up, he found Blaze had unbuckled his belt and was holding his phone, possibly having taken photos. In a panic, Samuel believed Blaze would tell others about their meeting, humiliating him and causing him to lose control. He admitted to grabbing a knife and stabbing Blaze repeatedly, then dragging the body into the bushes before driving home to sleep. Was this the truth or merely an excuse? The answer lies in what the police discovered next. After Blaze Bernstein went missing, his family and the Lake Forest community tirelessly searched for him. Hundreds of people joined search teams, combing every corner around Borrego Park, where Samuel claimed he had dropped Blaze off, from early morning until late at night. But for nearly a week, no clues emerged. The weather was wet, with heavy rain pouring down, further dampening everyone's spirits. Yet it was this very rain that became the key to unraveling the mystery. On January 10th, 2018, a week after Blaze's last contact with his family, his body was discovered beneath the soggy earth in the park. Blaze's remains lay in a shallow grave, covered by large branches and bushes. Without the rain exposing the soil, he might never have been found. The autopsy revealed that Blaze had been stabbed a total of 28 times, a number reflecting the horrific brutality and hatred of the perpetrator. Police immediately sealed off the scene, collecting DNA samples from the body and the surrounding area. Though the DNA analysis results weren't immediate, all suspicion fell on Samuel Woodward, the last person to see Blaze. With this gruesome discovery, police had sufficient grounds to obtain a search warrant for Samuel's home and the car he drove that night. Before executing the warrant, they discreetly monitored Samuel. When he left his house and entered his car, plainclothes officers suddenly arrested him on suspicion of murder. The investigation entered a new phase, and what they found in Samuel's home left everyone stunned. A blood-stained knife was discovered, and subsequent testing confirmed the DNA on it matched Blaze's. The mystery began to unravel, but the truth was far darker than anyone had imagined. After arresting Samuel Woodward, the police didn't stop at physical evidence. They delved into his online world, uncovering a truly chilling persona. Samuel had spent years lurking in the dark corners of the internet, particularly on iFunny, a site originally meant for memes, but increasingly overtaken by extremist groups. There, he connected with like-minded individuals, fueling his hatred for Jews, gay people, and other minorities. Samuel became a member of the Atomwaffen Division, a notorious neo-Nazi organization labeled a terrorist group in several countries. He even posed for photos wearing a skull mask, the group's symbol, and bragged about it online. Digging deeper, police discovered that Samuel had once left home for Colorado to meet James Mason, an extremist leader, and attend an Atomwaffen training camp. There, they focused on ideas of societal collapse and reinforced their radical beliefs. Upon returning, Samuel sank further into isolation and despair. But the most shocking revelation was his browsing history. Before and after meeting Blaze, Samuel frequently visited gay dating sites and pornography. This stood in a stark contrast to the homophobic image he projected. Was he grappling with his own identity, or simply scouting for a victim to unleash his rage? After killing Blaze, Samuel even went to extremist forums to boast about his actions, earning praise from others with similarly twisted mindsets. This evidence not only exposed his cruelty, but also showed that the crime was far from a spontaneous act. It was the culmination of a mind long corrupted. After Samuel Woodward was arrested on January 13, 2018, the legal battle began. He was charged with murder, with an aggravating factor for using a weapon. By August of that year, 2 additional charges were added. Hate crimes related to Blaze Bernstein's religion and sexuality as a gay Jewish individual. Initially, Samuel pleaded not guilty, and the case didn't progress as quickly as expected. The COVID-19 pandemic struck, delaying all court proceedings. His bail was initially set at $5 million but was later revoked, forcing Samuel to remain in jail awaiting trial. Questions about Samuel's mental health also arose. Diagnosed with autism, Asperger's syndrome, and obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, some argued he wasn't competent to stand trial. However, after multiple evaluations, psychologists concluded he was still legally accountable. It wasn't until April 2024, more than 6 years after Blaze's death, that the trial officially began. Samuel appeared in court looking haggard, his hair long and disheveled, his frame gaunt, his voice feeble. Some in the courtroom compared him to Charles Manson due to his cold demeanor and eccentric mannerisms. The defense admitted Samuel had killed Blaze, but argued it wasn't premeditated or motivated by hate. They claimed it was a spontaneous panic attack triggered by pressure from his homophobic father and Samuel's own inner turmoil. The prosecution, however, fiercely countered this. They presented a trove of evidence, emails, photos of Samuel with extremist group members, and his online history, to prove it was a deliberate murder driven by toxic ideology. The legal battle was intense, but the truth gradually emerged through the killer's own testimony. The trial of Samuel Woodward in April 2024 marked a turning point in the case. When called to the stand, Samuel spoke little, letting his defense attorney speak for him. They portrayed Blaze's killing as the result of a moment of panic, unplanned. According to Samuel, after smoking marijuana with Blaze at Borrego Park, he fell asleep. Upon waking, he saw Blaze unbuckling his belt and holding his phone, and Samuel feared Blaze had taken photos and would post them online. He claimed he lost control and stabbed Blaze in a fit of rage. However, forensic analysis showed no activity on Blaze's phone at that time, undermining his defense. The decisive moment came when the prosecutor asked, "What were you thinking when you plunged the knife in?" After a long silence, Samuel replied, "A rage I'd never felt before." He spoke of pressure from his conservative father, who would never accept him meeting Blaze in that context. This testimony, combined with online evidence of his extremist beliefs, painted a damning picture of his crime. The prosecutor argued that Samuel was deeply influenced by radical ideology, and Blaze, a gay Jewish person, was the perfect target for his hatred. On July 3, 2024, The jury found Samuel guilty of first-degree murder and hate crimes. He appeared displeased with the verdict, displaying a defiant attitude. On November 16, 2024, the judge sentenced Samuel to life in prison without parole, calling the case a tragedy of two young lives. Samuel was absent from the sentencing due to illness, but it didn't change his fate. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars. The death of Blaze Bernstein was not only a devastating loss for his family, but also a shock to the entire Lake Forest community. At Borrego Park, where Blaze spent his final moments, hundreds of hand-painted rocks have been placed in his memory. Each rock carries a message of positivity and love, reflecting the spirit Blaze brought to those around him. He is remembered as an intelligent, humorous person who turned the ordinary into something extraordinary. An active member of the local synagogue, Blaze inspired others with his tolerance and acceptance, values that now endure through the memory of him. Perhaps it was this very tolerance and acceptance that led him to meet Samuel Woodward. Someone he likely knew lived a life vastly different from his own. Though shattered by the loss of their son, the Bernstein family transformed their grief into meaningful action. They launched the Blaze It Forward campaign, encouraging people to perform acts of kindness in Blaze's honor. From small gestures like helping a stranger to larger community efforts, the campaign spreads the message of love that Blaze always believed in. His mother, Jean, once said she saw a light in her son, and now she wants that light to continue guiding others. The growing number of rocks at the park stands as a testament to the community's unity. Meanwhile, the case sparked broader questions about online safety and the dangers of extremist groups. Samuel Woodward serves as a stark example of how a young mind can be corrupted through the internet without proper oversight and support. The community not only mourns Blaze, but also calls for action to prevent similar tragedies. Blaze's legacy is not just one of sorrow. It's a reminder of the power of kindness and the urgent need to protect one another in an increasingly complex world. The rest of Samuel Woodward's life will be spent behind bars, a fitting end for his ruthless actions. A lost young man, Samuel destroyed his own life with hatred and violence. Meanwhile, Blaze Bernstein, once destined for a bright future, was forever halted at the age of 19. This case is not just a story of a perpetrator and a victim, it's a warning about the hidden dangers in modern society. Radicalization through the internet, family pressures, and unresolved inner conflicts drove Samuel down an inescapable path, bringing tragedy to the Bernstein family. The judge called it a true tragedy. On one side, Blaze, intelligent and successful. On the other, Samuel, struggling with himself and never receiving timely help. Yet he emphasized that the one who deserves to be remembered is Blaze, not the person who took his life. The case concluded in November 2024 with a life sentence without parole, but questions linger. What truly drove Samuel? Was it hatred for gay people, Jews, or simply fear of exposure? Perhaps no one knows for certain, but what he left online, from gloating posts to extremist imagery, reveals a soul long tainted. This story urges us to reflect on how we raise our children, monitor the online world, and support young people who are lost. Blaze is gone, but his spirit lives on through the good deeds the community continues to spread. As for Samuel, he will fade into obscurity behind bars, a cautionary tale that hatred brings nothing but pain. Let's cherish one another, for life is too short for hate. Lastly, we share our condolences with Blaze's family. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below and support the channel with a like and subscribe to keep us motivated. See you in the next episode.